Welcome back to the Insider's Guide to Custom Homes. I'm Rick Bell, and my goal is to help educate you on the custom home building process so you can move forward with confidence, clarity, and realistic expectations. Today, we're continuing our Landmark Team series, where we introduce you to the people behind the scenes who make exceptional custom homes possible. This episode focuses on a role that doesn't always get the spotlight, but is absolutely essential to controlled growth, strong client relationships, and long-term success: the controller. This conversation will touch on financial discipline, systems, teamwork, and how thoughtful leadership behind the scenes supports a better building experience for everyone involved. My guest today is Noely Villalobos, controller at Landmark Custom Homes. Noely joined Landmark in August of 2021, stepping into a role that had been held for more than 25 years. She came to Landmark with a strong background in large-scale multifamily and commercial construction accounting, bringing discipline, organization, and structure to a growing custom home building company. From accounts payable and receivable to cash flow management, compliance documentation, and internal systems, Noely plays a crucial role in supporting Landmark's controlled growth and long-term vision. Noely, welcome to the show. I'm glad you're here.
My pleasure.
So, to kick things off, for listeners who may not know you yet, can you tell us a little about your background and how you found your way into the construction accounting world?
Back in 1999, I was introduced to a company that used to do manufacturing of custom products in Miami. I started there as a receptionist, and there was a lot of growth in that company in a very short period of time.
So you had no accounting background at that point?
No, none, zero.
Wow.
So I was literally forced to learn my way and support the president at the time to grow the company. And, I had to learn the hard way.
So how big was that organization?
Very small when I started there. Probably a company that will sell between, I would say, $250,000, $400,000 a year and grow to a company selling over $12 million.
So were you doing the books, or are you just kind of doing pretty much everything from reception to books?
I started crying every day because my English was really bad.
But let's go a little bit about your background. So you're from Cuba originally.
I'm from Cuba
originally. And you moved here in...
I came in 1996.
Yeah, so not that long ago,
for really. 29 years. I actually came 25 years old, so I've been living here more time than in my own country.
So after you left Cuba, you came here, and you got this job pretty much right away? Was this your first job in America?
No, I did other things before that, and I met somebody on one of my jobs, and he said, "I think you're a great fit for our company. We're looking for help." He introduced me to the president of the company, and we clicked right away. So.
And by the way, you're going to do accounting and everything else you've never done before.
No, I started as a receptionist, like I said, and one day the accountant came by and said, "Well, from now on, you're going to take care of the books. We're not going to do it manually anymore. We're going to introduce QuickBooks, and we're going to automate everything." And there you go, figured it out.
So this was a transitional process for that company.
It was a big transition, but I learned a lot. It was the greatest school that anybody can have, because when you're forced to learn your own way, you obligate yourself to search for information and look for advice on how to do things and
so
why things happen, and literally you have to figure it out. It's the only way to become successful, and it's been a learning process throughout all these years.
So how many years did you work there?
I worked for that company for 12 years.
Oh, that's a long time. So you really got an established background after 12 years of doing that, kind of figuring it out, and then
I worked for them for 12 years. And then I moved on to other opportunities in the same industry. I've been in construction most of the time.
Yeah, so you joined Landmark after you worked for a large-scale multifamily construction company. What lessons do you learn from that world still influencing how you approach your role today?
I think that a lot of companies don't pay a lot of attention to the numbers. And I think that's a huge mistake. When they start growing, they rely on what people tell them rather than taking a different approach and go deeper and find out how really things are working and why your numbers look a certain way. And for example, that company, when I started,
This is the commercial company.
yes, this is the commercial company. I literally had to come and audit 3 projects that were happening at the same time because there was not a system for the accounting.
And how many homes were they doing at the time, or how big?
Well,
What kind of
it was
buildings were
not.
they
It
on?
was not like homes. Was actually developments. Like 100 townhomes, communities, or buildings for rental. That kind of construction. So, but they were big projects. They were in the 20,
So
30 million
I'm really surprised they didn't have
projects.
sophisticated systems when you're doing that kind of scale.
Believe it or not, no. It was very simple. It was the old way. You do your things with Excel and you keep notes and you get a loan with the bank and you figure it out. But when you don't have a support system, especially in the construction industry, things can get out of hand pretty quickly. And some of the things that I found, for example, they were overpaying insurance in 3 years. In 3 projects, they overpay over $700,000 in insurance premiums
Wow.
for builder's risk. And I had to audit every single subcontract they have in 3 projects. And I found over almost $2 million in overbilling from subcontractors that they were able to kind of recoup that money because they were not at the end of the project.
Were they surprised when they found this out?
Absolutely surprised. Absolutely surprised. And I had to come and become like an internal auditor. And the only way I could do that is because of the way I learned. Because the way I see numbers and I look at accounting within this industry is completely different than somebody that maybe went to school and learned the theory and then started, in a different
But
position.
you look for the real world and what's
Exactly.
what's real and what
came
costs money.
from the ground up. And when you do it that way, you learn to look things in a different way and find things that other people will not even think about.
Yes.
And that's the fun part.
It is the fun part. I mean,
I got to tell you, I hate accounting, but I love my job.
I kind of love numbers. I'm not an accountant. Don't ask me to do credits and debits. I can read a balance sheet and a financial statement, but accounting to me was something that I had to do 101 in college, and that was it. I did it.
It's an important part of any growing company, especially because you have to be transparent with your customers and with your subcontractors and with the people that you work with. And your numbers have to be right. It cannot be any other way.
Right. That's how you build confidence and trust
Exactly.
with your own people that you work with, that for your own company, your subcontractors, your vendors, your customers, your clients. I mean, it's a world of trust because, again, when you're dealing with these numbers, and these are large scale numbers, a subcontractor can easily lose track and lose money. And we don't want
And
that
it
to happen.
happens all the time, and it's not foul play or anything like that. It's just lack of systems. Like, most companies don't have a system. And that's one of the things that I like doing when I start working in a company is create a system where everybody understands the importance of documenting things and making sure we have the right approvals and why is this number and not this, challenging thing, as it's not to test anybody, but to make sure things are right because we're responsible, we have these people trusting us to build these homes that are their dreams. We got to make sure.
Sure. And all sides, it's important. It's important to our clients for sure, number
Yes.
one. It's important to us, absolutely. And again, it's important to our trade partners because they somewhat rely on us because their systems are not always necessarily sophisticated, but they do great work. And we want to make sure they make money that they're due. And I think having those internal audits and the internal ways to look at payments and making sure that everything is correct is a balance that is achievable when you really want to take care of the team. And when I say the team, I mean everyone. That's
And it
involved
goes
with
both
business.
ways on my side because it's as important as it is that we don't spend more or overpay for anything. It's making sure the subcontractors are given what they're entitled to is also super important because you can only do what we do, making sure we have some good subcontractors and they're happy
Right.
and they're satisfied.
And they need to make what they deserve.
Exactly, with the way they're treated and be fair.
But conversely, you have to look, sometimes they double pay you,
Oh.
so bill you. And you want to go,
Yeah.
okay, we got to make sure this doesn't happen. But we are in a PO system. So kind of scaling back to where you transitioned, what was the impetus? What originally attracted you to work at Lammer Custom Homes? especially coming from a much larger commercial environment? I mean,
Opportunity.
what appealed to it?
Opportunity, because I think that I think that some companies don't take seriously the way it should be.
Because it's hard to find. Let me step back. It's hard to find a good controller. They're few and far between
It's
that
hard
really
to
know what
find
they're
good
doing.
employees and dedicated people. And I think that sometimes
And competent.
some companies don't really pay attention and don't reward their employees accordingly. And when I say reward, it doesn't mean necessarily monetarily, because you cannot get a raise every year. But there are other ways to
Sure,
reward.
the appreciation.
And I think I got kind of tired that I was working as much as I could and putting my heart out, and there was really no recognition.
I mean, you saved this company
Until that day that
$2 million.
I said I'm leaving. Until the day that I say I'm leaving.
Wait.
And opportunity be do what you like and be with a good group of people that are all hungry for success and looking, to do a good job and, live a decent life.
So when you joined Landmark, in August of 2021, you replaced someone near and dear. Marshall Cohen had been with us for over 25 years. We still love him. He retired.
I love
He retired.
Marshall.
We still talk all the time. So what was the transition like for you personally and professionally, stepping into these big shoes, literally and figuratively? He was a big man.
My first challenge here was dealing with the system that you had, because I was, used to work with QuickBooks and like all these payment applications and dealing with the banks and a lot of things. And when I came here, I realized, well, I don't have to deal with the banks anymore. Yay, perfect. But I had to learn a system that I wasn't familiar with, and that took me, a little bit. But
you're a grinder. You
but
figure
not
this
a big
stuff
deal.
out. Yeah.
It's like the principles, what it is, and then I picked it up. And organization, kind of putting systems in process, like the way we do things and why we do it this way and how we document.
But your approach is different. I mean, everybody has a different way of running the ship, and you're taking the helm of the accounting department from Marshall, who ran it his way. So how did you kind of transition in the company even into the way you see how the accounting department should be run?
I like when I come in to do as much as I can myself, because by doing that, I learn your system, your process, how you do things. And then I have a way to think about what can we do better to improve the systems? How can we be smarter and don't work harder, And I like to do as much as I can myself. And then I have a better understanding of the processes within the company. And then we can take, steps and see, like I say, what else, what can we do better? How can we
Right. And then we have different systems
better?
And we had systems, but during, your first year here and kind of looking at the way we did things, there's always ways to improve.
Mm-hmm.
So, what did you kind of focus on primarily when you came here saying, this works well, but I think I can make this work better? And I can think of plenty of things, but I'm gonna let you answer that.
Okay,
one.
help me out with that. Because
okay. Well, organizationally, nothing. I love Marshall, but when it comes to organization, you're second to none. I mean, you really put things where they belong. You basically have digitized pretty much all of our records. The way that you picked up and now kind of took the helm on the cash flow model and kind of took that on yourself. I mean, all these things happen over a period of time, but you're very organized. You're very disciplined. And, you have systems where, it's the 5th of the month or 4th of the month, and I go through and I balance all my accounts. I do this on this date. So you're much more regimented. And that's what we love about, knowing that you're kind of at the helm of the financial part of the company, that, you have these systems put in place and you take them seriously, and you're not a slacker. You can't do that. It's not in your DNA.
No, it's not. I remember when I came in, I had like a challenge. Okay, what are the releases? In a folder. Which folder? Okay, let me look for them. It's something that you need to have handy at any time. That piece of information or any other that relates to a job. Because if the customer asks, a subcontractor challenges anything, we have an inspection, whatever it is, you have to have your records in order. So that was kind of like my main thing when I came in, because I found that it was all over the place and not centralized. And then we started working on that and why we need to do it this way. And it was a process because even the guys kind of like didn't like the paperwork or having a new system. Everybody.
People
It's
are
a
resistant to
process.
change, and that's just part of the human nature. But I think
It is a
when they
process.
grasp why you're doing this
Right.
and the benefit.
By now, everybody understands why, and they just do it because they know there's a reason for it, and it makes my life a lot easier because I don't have to be chasing anybody to get the information that we need to support what we do.
So what exactly, let's kind of clarify for people not really knowing what a controller means when it comes to accounting in the construction world. What are the essential obligations and parts of your job? What are your duties, tasks, and how do you see your role and how it fits in with the overall process?
I think the main role of the controller is oversee the entire operation of the company. Accounting is one side of it, but that also involves, for example, payroll, the benefits, insurance.
Yeah, tracking insurance for subcontractors, super important.
Yes, relationship with the vendors, with the bankers, with all the subcontractors, making sure that we have the proper documentation at all times. And I think it's if you have to look at everything at the same time. Everything is important. It's more overseeing than anything else and challenging things. Why this and why that? That's what you pay me for. I tell everybody that I don't come to make friends. If I make one while I'm here,
let's set the record straight. You are a very personable person.
I am.
You don't rub feathers unless they rub you the wrong way.
I am, but to be in the position that I am, you have to be very straightforward.
Yes.
There is not gray in my world. It's black or white, nothing in the beginning, in the middle. Because you have to be straight, and some people kind of find a hard time dealing with that, but eventually they'll come around and realize that there is a reason for it, and to me it's extremely important to make sure that you look at me or my work or whatever I do, and I can make mistakes like anybody else, but you can rely on me. You can trust me, because without that, there's no reason for me to be here.
Yeah, I mean, you are in probably one of the most critical roles that you need to rely on trust when you're dealing with large numbers.
And that's not even mentioning, confidentiality and all the things that I can touch, that I can see, that I don't talk about, because I can. I will jeopardize the whole.
Sure, and we all take that kind of sacred thing, particularly with some of the clients that we deal with. We deal with a lot of high-end people, and we don't get starstruck.
Yeah.
We treat people with respect and the courtesy they deserve, but we don't ogle over them, and we don't share a lot of the personal, important, critical knowledge that they rely on us to keep in their trust and confidence.
They're trusting us to keep that information from the world, pretty much.
Right. So you manage accounts payable, accounts receivable, and the cash flow. So why is cash flow management especially critical in a custom home building company? We
have to know what we're making and what we're spending. And we also have to look ahead and see what are we counting on in the future.
So talk a little bit about our cash flow models, because I'm pretty proud of that. It's something that I've worked on a long time. You've taken the helm on that, and now you're dealing with a bunch of different projects. So you have to kind of layer everything into it. What does our cash flow model tell us? How does that kind of come into play as a home builder? And again, the stability of a company, we don't talk about that much, but Landmark has been in business for many, many, many years. We've always treated our clients' money with the utmost care and dignity, and making sure that it's held in its own bucket.
Yep.
We don't commingle money. We want to make sure that we know where every penny has gone throughout the process, and we can account for it, and that's super important. Especially when you're dealing with these kind of numbers. So how does our cash flow model work in a kind of the 2-minute kind of explanation?
Well, in our specific case, we make money different ways, and we track per job how much money we have incoming every month. So we know how much cash we have to work with. And out of that, we take then our overhead expenses,
Right. So
your
you have
payroll.
income on the
Right.
top line with
So
all the
let's say
jobs.
exactly, and then we take our expenses, any commissions that we have to pay, any money that we owe anybody, and we deduct that. And at the end of the month, we have a number.
Right.
And that number that we end with, then I go to the other side, and then we look at all our bank accounts.
And they get a balance.
And the balances that we have at the end of the month for each bank account, and they have to balance.
And our
And that's not
our
a
tolerance has gotten really tight over the years. I mean,
Yes.
we used to, okay, it's $100 off or two. Now it's down to like, Noelle, you're
And
off
I
by
have a
35
dollar off.
cents. Come on, what's going on here? And we're talking a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
To be able to have that bank balance line up with the cash flow side is super important, because that's kind of the counter.
Right, that we have how much money, then we can have an idea how much money you're making at the end of the year, or what can we do with it. But
the double
one thing
check.
that you mentioned, we do this, but we only count our money, meaning the money that the company collects on their fees or general conditions or whatever it is. We never count, even though we reconcile the accounts, we never count the deposits from the customer. Those
Right,
monies
that's
are
not
kept.
our money.
That's not our money.
Right, that gets
that money
deducted out.
is kept in separate account. That nothing to do with the operating money for the jobs. For each job, we have an account that holds the deposit or down payments, and we have a second account that holds the money for operating expenses, to pay the subcontractors, to pay our fees. But it's completely segregated. We don't mix that. And like I said, at the end of the day, we've been pretty good keeping their balances correct.
And then beyond that, it actually forecasts down the road, 6
Exactly.
months, 12 months,
Right.
2 years. I mean, we actually look that far in advance, and where we are today,
Right.
where we'll be 6 months, a year from now. And then we kind of look at that every month. We sit down, the entire team, and the management team, and look at where we're at and how we're doing.
So what we do is we take, for example, a new project. Let's say we sign a contract today, but the actual construction and billing is going to start in 6 months from now. Then we go and plug that number in our cash flow and say, okay, this job should be 24 months or 18 months, whatever it is. So we spread it out throughout that period of time.
Simply
So
just divided
our
by
cash
that
flow
month.
goes from now until like 2028, and it will keep going as.
But every month when we start building, it gets updated. It's the actual number, and then you divide by the balance.
And then the balances are adjusted to whatever is left within the contract.
So, when you're dealing with so many houses and the complexity and pace of construction, how do you deal with, so many active projects besides just the cash flow? But you're as we get busier and you go from building 3 homes at a time to 6 homes at a time to 10 homes at a time, how do you kind of balance and keep all these projects kind of juggling in the air and making sure they're all kind of grounded in a solid financial?
The secret is one at a time. And then also helps when you establish procedures. For example, we kind of educated our subs within the past few years that we need our billings through a certain day. That allow us to prepare our draws to the owners, collect the money, and then prepare the payment. So our subcontractors know, for example, by the 20th of the month, everybody should have sent me
And
the
if they
bills.
don't?
If they don't, you have to wait 1 month. It's your fault. You know about it. I call you. I remind you. I send you emails to remind you. So there's no reason why your bill should not be here. And everybody gets paid by the 10th of the month, assuming
I think
that
people
we get
respond to
funded.
deadlines. So, you give them those deadlines, they know.
At the beginning, it was extremely difficult because everybody had their ways. But once you tell somebody, if you don't send me your bill, you're not getting paid in 60 days. It's your fault. You're putting it on their plate. So, we do everything we can to make sure we want to pay you.
And we're on a purchase order system. There's really no reason, it's signed off by the superintendent. They know when it's coming up.
Right.
So there's really no excuse not to have it in on time. But
so that helped us because by having those deadlines, we kind of know, okay, so this month we got funded or not. Then this moving to the following month, and then we can adjust our numbers accordingly based on what actually happened. But it definitely helps having deadlines.
right. So the system is basically our subcontractors put their bills in with their purchase orders, and we go through and review it, make sure it's been approved by the supervisors, then reapproved by the project manager.
Mm.
Then the checks are cut, and then it's reviewed one more time before everything is signed. We
Yes.
still sign checks the old-fashioned way. It's really just a triple check.
Yes.
And, I just think the system works well. It's a checks and
I think the
balances thing.
system will work. It might take a few more minutes, but I think it's worth it because, we gathered everything that we can and we need to have in our hands. First of all, to prove that we made that payment, that it was according to the contract, and all the subcontractors signed their paperwork when they need to
Right.
sign
And the work
it.
was complete to the satisfaction of
And
the
the work was
superintendent.
complete to the satisfaction. The superintendent signed for the bill and approved it. Previously, the owner approved for the work. So you keep that chain of approvals and information to back up every single penny that goes out. Because again, most of the money that we receive is to pay for these subcontractors. So it is important to keep a good track of where is it going.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about documentation. And Landmark has, extensive requirements. We have notice to owner. I'm not going to get into the technical part. That's another episode for another day or in a podcast. But these are really important legal issues that we have to make sure we maintain the paperwork properly for. So you have notice to owner, you have lien releases. It doesn't mean your job has been lien. People think lien and they get nervous. It basically just preserves rights of subcontractors. But then we have to make sure that the owner's rights are preserved when we pay those subcontractors. So lien releases are important. Insurance certificates, making sure they have the current workman's comp and general liability requirements, other compliance and tracking. So why is this part of the job so important, but often overlooked by other companies?
We require all the subs to make sure they have their insurance up to date to the limits that we require. We don't want someone that is uninsured on the job site. It's a liability. It's not worth it. And we also require all subcontractors to sign a release of lien when we pay them. It is true that many of them didn't file a notice to owner, and as such, they're not required to sign a release. However, my explanation to them all the time is it's a requirement of the owner. The owner wants to make sure that I pay you.
Regardless. Notice to owner basically preserves your right.
Basically, I tell them this is like your receipt of payment. You're signing this document saying that you got a check for this amount of money for this project through this billing period. I don't see what's the problem with not signing that, and most people comply.
Right,
Rarely.
and that's a notarized document. This is an official document
yes.
that we have backup in
it
case
is a notarized document, and every single month we send those copies of all those documents that all the subs sent.
And then they're organized, and then they're saved, and they're digitized, and we have really good records that we can forward to owners. We can keep to ourselves if anything happens down the road. Again, documentation, to me and to the way I like to see a company run, and I think we were aligned in this, is one of the critical success factors of being a high functioning custom home builder, is to make sure we have proper records, so we can always look back and say, here's how we did this. This is why we did this. When we paid this, we had a release from this person. We made sure their insurance was in place. We made sure that the contract was paid according to our subcontractor agreement. And here's where you stand as the owner. So there's a lot of records that all tie together.
Yes.
So, as Landmark has grown over, since you came here in 2021, how has your role kind of helped shape the changes in the business? Because now we're doing a lot more work than when you came aboard.
I think that having a system now is everybody's mind. I don't think people are so stressed about bringing more work because they know we have a system. And the system is not complicated. You just have to follow it.
We don't want the wheels to come off, obviously, but if you have control.
Yeah. And like I said, to me, it's one at a time, because that's when people make mistakes, when you want to do so many things at the same time that you cannot concentrate in any. I rather spend a little more time in one, make sure everything is the way it's supposed to be, and then I'll go to the next one. We have 30 days in a month, or 31. So we have plenty of time, most of the time, to work and get things done correctly. I don't see the need. You can't rush with numbers. You cannot rush through this process because it's critical. And one mistake can make a lot of differences.
Right. But as we grow, your bandwidth is only so strong. So about 2 years ago, we brought on a new hire, again, who hadn't done any accounting before, but was a bright person, very teachable. And you helped hire and train her and to be a new team member to support you. What did you look for in that person, and how did you approach teaching them about what their roles are and how they can help benefit you and make your job better?
Number one, attitude. We have a great culture in this company. We all really work as team players. I don't think anybody here pointing fingers to anybody and blames anybody for nothing. And the reason why is we really work with each other. And it's one of the rarest things I've encountered. And that's why I love working here. And when we brought Miley, attitude was everything.
She has a great attitude.
She was so hungry to learn.
And this again, this is someone who came from Cuba, been here for 2 years.
2 years now.
2 years, worked in I think a bakery is where you actually met her.
Yes.
But you saw something in her.
Yeah, she was a very pleasant person to talk to, very willing to please, and to, she just wanted to do better. I say, why not? The plan was to hire her part-time because one of the things that I had to do, trying to, digitalize everything, was very time-consuming.
Of course, I forgot she did actually start part-time.
Scan all these documents and making folders and putting them in the right place. It's easy, but it takes a lot of time. So, and I was doing my job and the other person's job, and I said, well, we can use some help at least with that side of the work, because that will liberate me to do other things that are more important. And we brought her in, and I'm very happy we did, because she clicked with everybody.
And when she came here, she spoke very little English. She was very self-conscious about it.
Yes.
We helped with her, going to English-speaking classes, and she is doing so great. I mean, she's 2 years in. She does fantastic.
Yes.
I mean, she's just in her attitude, and she shows up every day, and she works not just hard, she works smart.
And she always has a smile, which is terrific.
She does.
It helps have people with good attitude around you. It helps. Like I said, I don't think we're lucky. I think that you had something that you picked the right people.
There was a spark.
You picked the right people to make this team, and I think that's amazing.
Well, we always talk about having A players in Landmark, and I don't care if you're the president, project manager, or a labor foreman. It doesn't matter. You have to be an A player to be on our team, and to stay on our team, you have to maintain that A level of dedication.
But see, you do something that, like I said before, many companies don't do, and that was one of the reasons why I kind of lost interest on staying with the company that I was with, even though I was really not actively looking for a job. And it was the fact that I know how much I was putting in, and nobody was saying anything. And I don't think it's fair.
Yeah, I mean, your work should go recognized.
Somehow. And it's not like everybody goes around trying for a pat on their back.
Right, and this is not about here's a trophy or anything like that.
It's about recognizing the effort, and when you have results on what you do, and nobody says anything about it, it's like you're too entitled, and I don't deserve that. Right. And I don't think anybody here that has that feeling, because you created, like I said, that culture, and we all feel recognized. We all feel part of the team. We all feel important. I don't think we have that ego here that, I'm above you, or you're this, or I'm that. We don't have that kind of problem here.
No, it's about building a great environment where we all feel appreciated, and we see the progress. And I think over an extended period of time, as you go, 2 years, 5 years, me a lot longer than that in the business, you can actually see the progression.
Yes.
and the way having all these good, hardworking, dedicated people working together can accomplish.
Yeah.
And it makes me proud to have people like you and other people on the team. So, my son, Brandon, he's been on the team now for, I think, 8 years. And you work very closely with him on contracts, budgeting, forecasting, and our overall financial health. So how would you describe that working relationship? Because you're dealing with son of an owner, and we don't treat him like the son of an owner. He's got to do his job like everybody else does. He's actually a partner now, and he has a financial stake in making sure the company manages. So how would you describe how you kind of work together to make sure we all stay on the same path?
I think that we have a pretty good rapport. I'm a little older than Brandon, and it's working fine so far. We're working on.
Well, he sees things differently. He definitely looks at it from a different angle.
Right. So we're working on communication and, keeping a report open at all times, which not sometimes don't happen. And I don't think it's he's not thinking about not doing or saying something to me. It's just he's so into what he's doing, and I'm so into what I'm doing. But we're working on it, and I think we have a great relationship. And he listens to me, and I listen to him. We respect each other. We get
Because your
things
role's
done.
kind of counterbalance. I mean, he's writing the contracts.
Yes.
He's making sure the purchase orders go out. But then again, he's going to make sure that they're paid correctly
And I have to
on,
challenge him all the
right.
time. Why this and why that? And he has to research it. And okay, you're right or you're wrong. This is
And
why.
it goes the other way too.
And it goes the other way too.
Sure.
So we keep each other in balance. And I think it's great.
There's some good catches. I won't get into some of the details, but some really good catches recently. And I think by working together, we've managed to not step in some landmines,
Right.
which other companies might just fall into. And we're talking scams out there. And unfortunately, it's a horrible world we live in. When Marshall was here, I can't tell you how many checking accounts we had to close and reopen because of people, getting hold of a check somehow and duplicating and fraud everywhere. So we always have to be alert for that, especially today. It gets scarier and scarier.
I personally look at our bank's account at least every other day. Because we have several bank accounts with different institutions. So I try to look, and we were fortunate that we, got into that situation that somebody grabbed one of our checks, but we were able to catch it right away and take measurements to correct that. But yeah,
and it's disruptive.
I've seen companies that go through so many, even employee theft, and they don't even realize it after several months.
We hear these stories
years.
a lot, and that's
I know stories personally about this.
It's sad, and some people I know someone who was a very close friend of mine, and this his employee worked for him for over 20 years, and siphoned off over $1 million over a period of time.
It can happen from anybody that has access to your resources. So like I said, keeping an eye on it and being consistent and asking questions. People get used to it. At the beginning, it's people feel a little intrusive, like, I don't like this. But they at the end of the day, they come up and understand the reason why we ask these questions and why we ask you for this paperwork and why I challenge things. It's what I do for a living.
Yeah, so you're in charge of the money, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You got a working relationship with Brandon Bell on the purchasing and payment side,
Mm-hmm.
and then you get a relationship with Brandon Noodleman on the overall health of the company, the day-to-day operations. So how has your relationship with Brandon Noodleman contributed in his leadership into the financial and operations side of the company? How does that relationship kind of tie in? Because obviously it's not just purchase orders and contracts; it's owners and the way they always have special conditions. There's always something going on in the field. There's always, hey, maybe we got to stop this. So how does, your side of the company kind of work with the day-to-day operational side of the company?
Brandon Noodleman's, it's a little easier than Brandon Bell. And the reason why I think is because Brandon Bell has to dig a lot of information with the budgeting, and it's a little more intense and complicated. Well, Brandon Noodleman look at the numbers, but he looks at it in a different way. And I have a great rapport with him too. We communicate all the time, and we are within the processes, the new people that we're bringing in, and doing whatever I can do to support them. And I tell them all the time, remember that our job is to support what you're trying to do, to bring new projects and do what you're planning to do in the future, but you need us, and that's what we're here for. So use us, rely on us, delegate when you can, because
and it takes a lot of the burden off of him worrying about that side of it. So,
but I think that to them, it's kind of like losing a little control. They're coming around. They're coming around. They're getting better. I'd be better and better at it because they're understanding that by doing that, you gain more time to do what is most
we always
important.
want to, my father would always say, inspect what we expect. So we do want to make sure that there are checks and balances, but at a certain point, you do have to let go of the reins a bit to the people that run that part of the operation and have some trust and faith that they've got their job handled.
But I help them, when we need to open new accounts. Let's say we need a new vendor. I deal with all of that to take it off his plate. We're hiring new people, like make sure all the paperwork is done, whatever he needs to make his job easier and better.
So from your perspective, what makes the Landmark leadership team function as a cohesive unit? Because, there's a lot of parts and pieces. You got me up in the CEO level, you got Brandon as the day-to-day manager of the company, you got Brandon Bell in the financial side, and then you've got all our superintendents working. You see everyone pretty much all the time. They come in and go, and we have communication. So what's your opinion? How do you see us? Why does Landmark become, in your mind, at least in my mind, I'm maybe putting words in your mouth, but a cohesive unit, a cohesive team? What brings us, what do you think is like the magic formula?
One, respect, in my opinion. Two, communication. And three, appreciation. We all feel appreciated. We respect each other and we communicate well. And when you have those three things, likelihood of things going wrong is very, very small.
And we all care. I mean, everybody
all
cares.
Care. The company cares. It does things for us to make sure that we stay as a team and we do things beyond, the job side. Like we take the time to go out together, do company events to recognize what we do, and we appreciate it. And with that in mind, I think everybody comes every day and let's go. Another day. What are we doing today to make it better, to finish this job, to make sure the customer is happy that, we can jump into the next project? What
and we're always excited when a new project comes along. We just love that starting phase, and and it's always a new challenge. No house is built the same. There's no same owner, same structure. Everything changes in the custom world, and I think be able to adapt and adjust and kind of roll with it is super important. I think by being a team and a cohesive team, that we all kind of have our roles, but we do rely on each other to a large extent.
And I think it's very, very, very important that we take the time to bring the right people. I don't know if you ever mentioned in any of these episodes that we go through hundreds.
I was actually talking about that yesterday with Brandon.
Candidates
right.
that apply for jobs.
Many hundreds.
And are we a little picky? Yes, we have to be.
Well, it's very hard to find the right fit.
Exactly. And we take that time to call people, interview. I have to go through 4 interviews to get this job, Yeah. And I think we're doing a good job bringing the right applicants.
We've gotten better at it. I think, over the past few years, again, that's something that I think Brandon Noodleman has really worked very hard on is upfront vetting. We've made some mistakes and we've had some hires that just maybe didn't work out. But you find out very quickly. The old saying is, hire slowly, fire quickly. Mm-hmm. And you can tell within 2-3 days if someone's going to be a right fit.
Yeah.
And doing what your expectations were, what they told you during the interview and during all the resumes and references and all the other checks and balances that we do when we onboard people. But we're not perfect. And sometimes they're not a right fit, but we do adjust quickly and kind of go back to the drawing board and don't try to just make a square peg fit in a round hole. Coming back to like the owner experience, financial discipline is not something clients, always see directly. How does a strong back-end financial management improve the client experience, from the client's perspective? How do they get the comfort level that we're watching the store for them?
Well, we're completely transparent with them from any information that relates to the banking on their job. We're open. If at any point in time they need to see anything, it's completely available to them. When we send them a bill for, let's say, for a draw, everything is well documented. Like I said, we always send them the releases, like the receipts of what we paid. And that gives them peace of mind when they ask, okay, so how much is my contract and how much did I pay and what is my deposit? And you're able to send them the report within minutes and all the information is disclosed at any time with no back and forth. They feel confident.
And the records are at our fingertips. And
we
if
have
you want to know what bill
prove
happened at this time with this vendor, very, very simple for us to put our finger on it and find that transaction and what happened when and who got paid why. And here's the documentation to back it up.
And I always, when I communicate with them, I always tell them, if you have any questions, you want to see anything, you have any questions at all, make sure you ask me, because I'll be glad to give you whatever you need to make you feel more comfortable and to know that your money is going to where it's supposed to go. And so far, I mean, I haven't had the situation of anyone.
No, it does
We
take
don't have that kind of
it
problems.
does take time with any new client when we start for the first few months. They
Hmm.
are a little bit, concerned. They're giving us,
Yes, of
after all,
course.
large amounts of money. There's a deposit involved a lot of times. There's deposits for some vendors and subcontractors, and there is a lot of faith and trust put in us. And I think it takes some time for them to kind of get used to the process.
Yes.
But once they do, I think the confidence starts to build over time, and it becomes a much easier process every time you go for a pay app. When you ask them for money, here's why, here's what you get, here's your releases, here's your backup, because we hear it a lot in the
And there's the
contract
consistency. They
negotiation.
see consistency. They see they know the information that they asked for is always available to them. There is no
Sure, and there's a lot of trepidation up front. Again, when we do our contracting, it's like, you must give us this, and this, and we say, yeah, we actually do that. That's part of our process, no problem, and we'll absolutely show you this. Our
Mhm.
books are open. Like I said, we're open book on
Yes.
pretty much 95% of our jobs,
Mhm.
which means we're fully transparent. You
Yes.
can look at all vendors, what we paid them, what they paid us, what our numbers are, what we made. It's all in
It's all
black and white.
disclosed. Mhm.
So, let's kind of talk about the growth in the future, Landmark. We always talk about controlled growth rather than just growing at whatever, cost there is. We want to make sure that we function with the competence and accuracy that we do now, as we do go from 7 homes to 10 homes to 14 homes, or whatever the growth pattern is. So from your standpoint as a controller, why is it that so important to make sure our growth is controlled? And how do you kind of forecast being able to handle that when you're doing 14 homes or 18 homes or 20 homes?
We got to make sure we have the right people to manage those jobs, because the last thing you want to do is sign a contract and then have no one to respond for you or be there and do the right thing. So we've been growing slowly but steady by bringing more qualified
Yeah, we
members to
actually
the
have
team.
three people coming on board this coming
Exactly.
month.
And by doing that, then you can spread more and take more jobs. But there's so much one person can do to be good.
So kind of layering that I'm here, I need someone over here to take care of this portion. And we talked about earlier, scanning documents. It's
Yeah.
obviously not the highest and best use of your time, but you brought someone in part-time. It was efficient, it worked well, and they turned out to be a great hire.
Yeah. And then she's doing a lot more today.
Right,
So,
allows us to scale.
exactly. So I think that we're being very smart about it, and, taking jobs that we can take at this time, and don't risk going after something that we might not be prepared just because we don't have the right resources, meaning the right amount of people to manage.
And it's all about the team. It's all
manage
about
up those jobs, which
Right.
is important. You got to make sure that person is on your side before you even go for it. Because again, it's the name of the company that you're putting at risk if you make a promise that you cannot fulfill. And that's the last thing that we want to do.
Exactly. So what excites you most about where Landmark is heading over the next several years?
I'm very excited. I think I'm going to retire here.
I hope you are. Marshall did. Why shouldn't you? You've been here for 5 years. He was here for 20. That's another 20 years. You can
I
do
love
that.
what I do. I'm telling you, I love it. Every day is something new. Every day is a challenge. Good challenges, not bad challenges. And I can see what else we're gonna do. What else are we gonna go? What other counties we're gonna be at working, and what kind of people we bring in, and and see what else can I do for the company. I always say that I can always do more.
Yeah, of course, and you do. You're always chipping in. So when you think about Landmark's legacy and building homes that stand out and stand over the test of time, how does your role contribute to that long-term vision? Because again, you are a very central spoke in this.
I think part of that has to do also, we have very well qualified and very reputable subcontractors that we hire to do what we do. You cannot hire anybody. You have to hire somebody that is reliable, that has been in business for
and
you
can sift this out too from the accounting side.
Yes.
Not necessarily, hey, they do a great job in the field, but when they don't have their record straight and they're just constantly, messing up on their billing or
I cannot tell you how many of the
begging for a
subs I
check
have
or
to
whatever.
literally. I have many of our subs that had no system, and I literally had to help them to take their contract, sit down with them, and put together a payment application, so they can bill properly and say, okay, so this is your job, this is your contract, this is what you should bill based on your contract. And they didn't have a clue. They just had a piece of paper written down and sent the bill.
Because a lot of people, these are skilled craftsmen, but not necessarily skilled accounting.
No idea.
Right.
But it's not difficult. Again, it's a process, and everybody by now know what to do. And I think that, again, coming back to the quality of the jobs, we take that very seriously. And I think that most of our subcontractors are very responsible and always there when we need them, make sure the quality of their job is top notch, and make sure the clients are happy, and that way we can keep going.
And that's the name of the game, keeping the clients happy. And that's what we all, that's the gold standard. Yeah. What advice would you give to someone entering construction accounting or operations who wants to do it the right way? Someone that, because it's an interesting role. People don't necessarily think about construction and accounting, but there's people graduating accounting school. They might find a path to become a CPA, but it might not tickle their fancy when they start sitting there just grinding numbers.
I think it takes certain people. It's not a job for everybody, because if you don't have a little hard skin, you can't be in construction, because you have to be willing to challenge. You have to be willing to ask questions. You have to be willing to face people and say why this. And until I get a response that I feel good with it, I'm not leaving. Why? And I'm your backbone. I'm watching your company.
So someone who's trying to get in the business, they have to understand that is their role.
Exactly. I'm the backbone of the company. If I don't do my job, your whole business is in crumble. And that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to make you stronger and keep going. And not everybody is willing to do that. Most people, and I mean, don't take me wrong, because accounting, I think, is one of the most underappreciated jobs. Because again, you have to pay attention to detail and make sure you
right. It's not the glory job of building and pouring concrete and all that stuff.
But some people don't take it seriously. Construction is construction. You have to have your eyes in a lot of things at the same time to make it work. And again, it's not only the accounting; it's everything else that I do that I have to keep an eye on. All that
record keeping and making sure people are have what they need to perform their job, from
payroll
the accounting
to
side,
employees issues,
assurance.
Or make sure the subs, our guys are okay. I talk to them all the time. What are you doing? How are you?
Well, that's part of it too. It's the whole payroll side too, because that can't forget.
Do you need anything? What can I do to make your life easier? Can I help you with anything? Can I order something?
Right. We're also HR for that matter. Yes. So it's another role we don't talk about, but part of your role is not just accounting and not just record keeping. It is HR, and people have issues, and we all have to be sensitive to them.
We have audits all the time. I have to do at least 6 audits every year.
Yeah, you just had another one, and you say, I want to give you some appreciation right now because you did a wonderful job. We got a check back, which is always good.
You're gonna get a second one, so
that's good, and that's because you really dig in.
No funny games. It's all documented. It's all can be proven. And we even have become better on that estimating, because the insurance for construction is very expensive. And we have become a lot better estimating what our projections are going to be. So we're more accurate in the sense of the premiums that we pay.
And look, we don't want a huge check back, because that means we overpaid way too much. Yes. But we also don't want to say, oh, Rick, by the way,
you don't want to go under.
$50,000 is now due. You're
and then when you do your audit, you have to pay $25,000 back. We don't want to do that. Right. We want to be as accurate as we can.
And we're pretty good.
Yeah, we become pretty good at it. And again, we have great insurance agents, which is fantastic. People that
very responsive
at any given point. They're terrific. So
another underappreciated asset of our team.
Which makes my job a lot easier. Right?
So finally, what does being part of the Landmark team mean to you personally?
Wow!
Don't cry.
I gotta say that it's the best thing that happened to me in the last few years. I feel that this is a company that I can stay with. I feel that I am respected for what I do, that I'm appreciated. This is my best therapy. I'm happy to get up. Well, I'm not happy to get up in the morning, but I'm happy to get in my car and come to work every morning. It's a happy place to be at.
It feels good.
It
From
feels
the same
good.
way. When I come in, I just come in with a smile.
I feel that what I do has a meaning and a purpose, and I see the future, and that's very fulfilling. And I wish everybody could have a job like mine, or a company like this, that you can feel that way, because it's not easy to work. But I think we're all very grateful and very lucky of being in a place like this. And not lucky, I mean, we all owe it to you, like the kind of company you created and the kind of culture you cultivated for everybody, and that we all embraced it. And even the young generation is willing to,
they're actually carrying the torch. I mean,
yes,
at this point.
Yes, and it's a process. Like we all understand that, but they're embracing it, and it's a great thing, because only good things will come out of that. Having the group that we have and the way that we work together, it's almost impossible. There's always drama. There's always
after all,
something happens.
We're a family.
We don't have that
Families
kind of
don't
problem.
always get along all the time, and I think it's also kind of good to rub each other a little bit, saying maybe there's a better way, and that kind of makes you better.
This is the best thing that could have happened to me professionally. And personally, that beyond what I can say right now, I feel very good that I'm here, because it's a place that keeps me busy, and I like what I do. And again, I enjoy every day of my work.
Great. Well, Noely, thank you so much for taking the time
welcome.
to share your story with us. Really appreciate it. And the role you play in helping Landmark operate with discipline, integrity, and long-term mindset. So for everyone listening, I hope this episode gave you a deeper appreciation for the systems and leadership that quietly support every successful custom home project. If you enjoyed this episode of The Insider's Guide to Custom Homes, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who's thinking about building a custom home. You can find all episodes, a growing glossary of terms, and helpful resources at theinsidersguidetocustomhomes.com or tigtch.com. Thanks again for listening. I'm Rick Bell. Remember, build your home the Landmark way. Keep your eyes on the long view, move forward with confidence, relax, and enjoy the journey.